Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Dumelang, Molweni, Ninjani. Machtag, prachtig. Is there anyone speaking Afrikaans here? Machtag, prachtig. Adolescent girls, young women are hardest hit by HIV epidemic, and we need to empower, mentor, engage, and resource them to shine. We cannot sit aloof and say shine while we are not empowering and mentoring and supporting them and guiding them to shine. And so, decades, as you know, we wouldn't be standing here if we had an HIV vaccine of research, in-depth scientific studies have not yielded an HIV vaccine like we have for polio, we even have flu vaccine and so on. It's because HIV is a very complex disease, and I don't have time to unpack it. We are under project this afternoon, but suffice to say, South Africa is at the forefront of developing HIV vaccines. We have 4 trials that are running concurrently as we speak, and we remain hopeful. Yeah, if polio could be vaccinated, why not HIV? God has given us minds, and He has said, higher than the human mind can reach is my ideals for my children. So if people can make aeroplanes fly, we can make HIV to go. But in the meantime, there is so much hope. There is HIV has become a chronic disease, and we can live with it, lead healthy lives. I just want to, before I call the special guest that I have invited to be part of my presentation this afternoon, I just want to say something a little bit here, that who is Refilwe? Who is Refilwe? Refilwe is a rural village girl from Limpopo that God saw and created to serve the purpose that she's serving today. Refilwe lost a younger sister in 2010 to AIDS. And I remember I was in the UK at that time. And I'm talking about an immediate younger sister. And London became such a small place. I felt like I was in a bottle, suffocating. I felt so helpless being away from everyone. But thankfully, I could get a flight. And when I arrived home, I found lots of people in the yard. And I wanted to cry so badly. And my parents said, no, we have prayed. Don't worry, we have prayed. So this has been the burden in my heart, and I have always wished that no one else should die of AIDS. And God chose me to chair the 9th SA AIDS conference, which is the largest medical meeting in South Africa and in the region, and the 2nd largest in the world. And He really set me up. I'm now working with the Deputy President of the country. He has invited me to serve in his plenary, the plenary that involves ministers who come forward to say, we will do this from our ministry, we will do this from the Ministry of Education. For example, the last meeting I attended, the Ministry of Education was saying they are going to finish their teenage pregnancy policy, so that girls who fall pregnant are not removed from school. And the Ministry of Health also spoke about their own plans, and the local government ministry, and so on and so on. So I thank God for that opportunity. He also impressed upon the Higher Education AIDS Board to appoint me as an expert. This is a board that oversees HIV across all universities in South Africa. And I chair the technical advisory team as a member as an HIV expert in that board. And of course, God appointed me to serve as Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research and Innovation. at Northwest University, the second largest university in South Africa, with about 65,000 students. Yeah, and God made me, and he did. You know, you see, when God wants to do something, he doesn't go halfway. He completes his work. And he chooses you not for you, but for a reason. And I became an epidemiologist, and I'll tell you someday, it's the science of diseases in simple terms. That's who I am. And I'm recognized nationally, rated scientist and merited scientist also by the Academy of Science of South Africa, fellow of Organization for Women in Science, and I serve in the international expert on infectiology. And before then, I was executive director, and I served in various other roles. The reason why I put this, and I was so elevated when the sermon was preached about God resourcing us for a purpose. Yeah, because these are some of the questions I ask myself, especially now in my position. I say to myself, I mean, I'm not any better than these people. I mean, I sit down with bearded men, beards coming this way, and big and tall, and they give me such respect that I don't deserve. Is it because God just wanted to just put me there? No, God chose me for a reason, which is why I am saying I would love to get out of my cocoon and do a lot more than I have been doing in as far as HIV and AIDS is concerned. Now, before I go on to this slide, where we have globally set ourselves targets to end the HIV epidemic by 2030. By 2030, HIV must no longer be an epidemic, meaning that even if we have people who are suffering from HIV and AIDS, it will be so manageable, and new infections will be so low such that it will just be like any other disease. Are you with me? Right now, we are running after it, and it's really overtaking us. So we set ourselves to achieve by 2020. In order for us to reach the 2030 targets, we need by 2020, which is next year, to have 90% of people who are HIV positive knowing their HIV status, and to have 90% of people who are HIV positive on treatment, and to have 90% of the people who are on treatment being virally suppressed. In other words, their viral load would have been so low and undetectable such that they cannot transmit HIV as long as they stay on treatment. So in essence, we need 30 million people on treatment and fewer than 500,000 new HIV infections annually. And this is as at 2017. You will see when I give more information that we actually have exceeded some of this, although we haven't gotten where we want to be. And I'll show you the future slides. Right now, I've brought a special guest, and her name is Olga Barons. Olga Barons is a friend of mine, and I dare not say a word. Let me rather have her tell you who she is, where she comes from, and what puts her here. Olga.
Good afternoon, beautiful, shining ladies. Thank you, Mother of the House, for this opportunity. Thank you, Prof. It's indeed a great, great honor to be here, to sit with all these beautiful, bright stars dressed in pink. I think pink was the initial color God invented for ladies, eh? Yes, because really you just stand out So I want to start with this quote saying, "Nothing can dim the light that shines within you." And that one is a favorite from the famous lady Maya Angelou. And before I want to introduce myself, I just want to tell you guys how good God works and how He works in such amazing ways, especially when He has a purpose for you. Like each and every one is sitting here, we have our purpose, the purpose God has installed for us from our date of birth. I met Prof. I'm not quite sure exactly how many years back, but it was when I was pregnant with my third born. She's now 5 years, so it must be about 5.5 years. So I met Prof in a plane trip on the way to PE, but I'm going to fast forward now because you guys going to say I'm confusing. But since I am HIV positive for 15 years now, and I have this burning light or this burning desire. It's like Prof say, when a sister passed away, she felt like no one will ever die in her presence. That's how I felt the time I just got infected with HIV/AIDS back then, way back then in 2004. And I had this desire telling myself, why must we as young women go through so much in life? Because I got infected, not like you guys think. Some of us still have that mindset thinking HIV is for loose women, you are young and irresponsible. I got infected in the house of God by a pastor that infected most of the young children. And we were all, the youngest age were 14 years. I was then 23 years. And he just came with like a wolf in sheep clothes and promising us the world using God's name. But well, I'm coming there. I am Olga Barnes. I'm from the Northern Cape. I am happily married with 4 children. My eldest is already a first-year student. My husband met me while I was HIV positive. He's still negative. My children is still negative. So ladies, I just want to tell you, you that's sitting here positive, there is hope. It's not an end. If God has put you on the path, and He has a purpose for your life, He will put you the right people. Like you see, Prof, He put some of these ladies that's coming to this conference, there is someone that God already planned to put on your life. So there's where God's presence is, or where He put people together, He always is part and parcel of His perfect plan. So, as I explained to you guys, I am married, I've got 4 children, I've got a very supportive husband, which I met 5 years back. We've got, not 5 years, actually 8 years back. We are married 5 years now. And being positive and coming through, you know what, my journey with HIV/AIDS was one horrible journey. I got infected very young, when my life just started. And the day I tested positive was the day I felt like committing suicide, because it was just like, I think back then HIV/AIDS was still the killer disease. Everybody was just thinking, oh my word, you're gonna die. I remember working even as a system administrator at a IT business where I was the only black person. So next morning, when the next day I went and disclosed to my supervisor. When I got back to work, they marked my chair, they marked the mug that I used. The ladies refused to use the toilet with me. It was just horrible. And it just put me in a very deep depression. And I just remember even a year or 2 years after that, some of my friends arranged a date for me. I still remember went with the guy out or to Mainland, because I stayed in Pretoria. The guy, when I just told him, hi, I'm HIV positive, I think that guy just froze. And he just apologized. He told me, sorry, I just want to go to the bathroom. Next thing when I check, now, where's this guy? He switched off his phone. The number you've dialed is not available. And he just vanished. And this was one of the rejections I endured by being HIV/AIDS positive. But you know what? I didn't know then what I knew now, that God put this on my path. I remember there was a moment I had with God which I accounted, finding out I was HIV/AIDS. I was in my room. I had this white wardrobes, and I was in front of this room, and I was like angry with God. I'd asked God, why would you put such a horrible disease on my path? Didn't I come, because I had a very, very, very terrible past as well. I came from so much in life. And I asked, but no, why this, God? What is your plan and purpose? Why did you put this on my path? And now really, was I such a horrible child that you want me to really to die in such a horrible way? And God told me, and I could hear this voice clearly, God saying, you know what? I want to use you to save my children's life. And I was like, it didn't make sense even. And when I met this beautiful lady on the plane, and from someone that I don't know from anywhere, I'm sure she got so annoyed because I was highly pregnant. Before I met her, I first fight with the attendants because the SAA refused to put me on the plane because I was just one huge pregnant lady. And they said, no, lady, we can't allow someone that's 35 weeks or higher pregnant on the plane. This is against our policies. I'm like, I'm going to board this plane. And you know what? Today, I don't regret it because it was this woman that was waiting there. And I said, I am going to board this plane. If I give the birth to this baby on this plane, it's up to you guys. And they were like fighting. They called all the authorities, all the managers, and later on they put me on the plane. It even made, so it was actually such a bad fight that I even missed the plane that I was initially on. But you know, God worked in such mysterious way that plane that I missed, I would have missed this lady. So when I went into the plane and listen how God works in such an amazing way. This lady was booked at the business class. I was booked in the economy class, which one is the one at the back of the curtain. So because of my previous flight and they put me through all this, there was no space in the economy class for my flight. And the only space that was left was one space next to Refilwe. My God. And the minute I sit next to this woman, she has this amazing light of hers, guys. I don't know. Oh, my word. You know, I just felt so comfortable. I even apologized because I was this big, highly pregnant, and I couldn't squeeze in, and she made space. And I could see she was busy. She's always busy. She was busy on a laptop. And I was like, I wanted to ask her, what you doing? And she's like, oh, I'm so busy. I'm on my way to a conference, blah, blah, blah. And I said, since you're talking about conferences, I am HIV positive. And I want to do this thing. I have this thing of empowering the youth and telling, you know what, I actually want to speak to this pastors that's infecting the youth. And you know what, that lady just closed the laptop. And that was almost 2-hour flight. For that 2-hour flight, this woman just sit and listen to all my things that I wanted to do. I want to open a Facebook page. I want to do this. And then when I think she went first off the flight. And then she left me a card. And the card was like, I didn't even take notice at first. But then the card, later on I wrote the card, HSRC, HIV Research Council. And I'm like, wow. And I was like thinking I know all about HIV. And this woman is working for the HIV. And never, you know what? I just got a name, Nancy. She even told me what she's doing, where she's from. I was blah, 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 the whole flight through this HIV thing of mine that I want to do. And guys, we serve an amazing God. You know what, this conference that you talked about, this HIV AIDS 2019 conference, this conference happened 5 years after. And 5 years after, this woman remembered me and telling me, you know what? I first sent an email. That was, say, 2 years back, because I wanted initially to say, you know what? Since this lady is working at the Research Council, I don't want to go and speak about HIV on a platform, especially social media, and I don't have my facts right. So I need her to guide me, especially with the stats of HIV, the vaccines, blah, blah, blah. So I wrote her 2 or 3 years back, I wrote her an email, but she never responded, and I understand because she's busy. I tried to phone, and they said the number's not working. I tried to trace her from this number, and they said, no, this woman is no longer working here. She's now at the varsity. At the varsity, no one knew this Refilwe. And I'm like, wow, God, but I'm not going to give up. This woman is the woman that I met, and she's the one, she's working for the Research Council. She knows about HIV. She must know about it. But in any case, long story short, I wrote this email 3 years back. And this year, actually last year, when she started the conference, because she was the chair for this conference, she contacted me. She said, Olga, I need you to be a speaker on the conference next year, June 2019. I'm like, wow, God. I was even shaking that day. I'm like, what am I going to speak about? This is now finally my time, the time I'm waiting for. And everything just fell into place. And I met her even after so many years. I met her the day that I was speaking at this conference, and I was not prepared because I thought, no, I'm going to come and speak about my story. And maybe she wanted me to come and speak about stats and blah, blah, blah. And I even tried to get her attention, but she was so busy. And I'm like, God, what am I going to speak about? And it was when I came in front of that auditorium, it was thousands of people. And here am I, first thing in this. Remember, I've been running this HIV/AIDS thing on Facebook. By the way, my page is called Break the Odium. So in Break the Odium, you'll read about all my walk that I had with HIV. As much as it sounds so easy now, it was not an easy one, but God is great. He has put that star in me, and I made that star shine. Like each and every girl of you in here, there is a star in you. Each and every lady, you just have to make that star shine and ask God to guide you, like the 3 wise men was guided by those 3 stars. So God must guide you into your purpose. So I don't want to take all the time. Sorry, me. I can speak a lot. I think that's why Prof is so right now, after the conference, I got such a big platform. Thank you, Refilwe, for opening such a big door for me, because really there were so many people there that really want to use us, people that can speak out, people that can stand up and speak about where they come and what they endure with life. It's no use you sitting here as ladies and going through all your stuff by yourself. That's why God has put that thing in your path, so you can be an empowerment to the next person. So there's no ways or no use of you sitting here and not using your story. So I'm using my story now. And you know what? Prof opened that door so wide open for me with this HIV/AIDS conference. I am so fully busy. I'm so fully booked. I use each and every platform. Right now, I'm busy working with the YAWM student where I help them like a buddy. Like remember, there's always, you know what, sometimes in life when you go through things, you just need someone to listen to you. Just someone that you can be, just someone that understands, have empathy what you're going through. So we have this buddy system where there's so many young people that's infected, and most of them, like me, I know when you just find out your status, suicide is the first thing, and that's where the devil uses you, because he wants to make you think that it's the end. It's not the end. It's just the start of a positive life. That's what I tell people. That's the start where God wants to take you on a positive route. So I'm busy working with this woman, especially children, or young ladies in the YAWMs, where I listen to them, I guide them, and I take them through this walk with HIV/AIDS. I also, after the conference, or just a month before the conference, I entered Mrs. Bloemfontein, which I know you guys know from Bloemfontein. Mrs. Bloemfontein is majority white people. So I come there now with my HIV/AIDS, and I speak about HIV, and I'm sounding so annoying, because it's just whenever I get a platform, I just want to encounter with it and empower women about it. So I'm a finalist for Mrs. Bloemfontein. And thank you. And why I choose this platform, I want to show especially the youngsters. HIV is just a disease in your body. It's not you. So you go there, you enter Miss South Africa, you enter Miss Bloemfontein, you enter Miss UIFs, you enter Miss Mamelodi. What is the soccer team here? Is it Mamelodi? But what is it? Sundowns? No, it's Celtics. But in any case, whatever platform you can, because you are beautiful. It's just your blood that's infected. It's not you that's infected. And then, that's it. And I'm doing so much in the community, especially with HIV/AIDS. And you are more than welcome to invite me to speak about HIV/AIDS with my beautiful mother here, my guidance, my angel, my big bright star. And I also have a Facebook page called Break the Odium, as I said before, that you can go on and go view what Olga is all about. Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you, Olga. Your CD4 count At the time when you got admitted in hospital some years back, how much was it?
My CD4 count was not that low, Prof. It was about 500 and something, but because I was pregnant, my gynae suggested that I went on ARVs, and that was in 2007. From 2004 to 2007, I started this positive route of mine, thinking positive, exercising, eating healthy. So up until I got pregnant, that's when my CD4 count showed a drop in it. But I've been on ARVs ever since 2007, and really, guys, ARVs is the one that kept me alive. And you don't even have to be ashamed about using ARVs, because it is, I call it my life in a bottle. So it's keeping me alive, and that's the reason why I'm standing here. 40-year-old woman, very happy, very healthy.
Thank you, my Olga. I'm going to run through this. I wanted Olga to give you a life experience, because nothing surpasses a life experience. These are just facts and figures. So I'll empower you with knowledge, but you have been empowered with a lived experience, from the horse's mouth. Thank you, my dear. Yeah, so we've got targets that we need to achieve. As you can see, by 2018, we needed to have new infections being less than 40,000 per year. And you will see in one of my slides, we currently have 230,000 new infections per year. Can you imagine, with a target of 40,000, and we said by 2020, we should have 20,000 new infections per year, and we are still at 230,000 new infections per year. You can see the gap there. And then target 2 is that by 2018, we should reach and sustain 95% on lifelong antiretroviral therapy. We are at the 70s on that one, and it's 2019 already. And we said by 2020, we need to reduce new infections to less than 100,000. That is by 2020. Do you see? We are at 230,000, like I said. So how are we going to reach? So we relaxed them a bit, from, okay, excuse me, the other one was for children. This other one is for adolescent girls and young women, as you can see, which is 100,000. And target for children and adolescents living with HIV. By 2020, we said we would like to provide ARVs to 90% of the people who are living with HIV, that is children and adolescents. And by 2020, we would like to provide voluntary medical male circumcision to an additional 25 million young people aged 15 to 29. I'm going to run through the stats. Below there, you will see in each category how many millions of people are living with HIV globally. So I'm just going to really rush myself. So as at 2018, that is the distribution. Aware of status, we had done away with the first 90, which is wonderful. So many people are getting treatment. And then we have 68% that are on treatment. 68% of those who are living with HIV are on treatment. So you see there's a difference there that is not getting treatment. And 78% of the people who are on treatment are virally suppressed. This shows you that ARVs work, and we know that it's because of various factors. People don't take treatment. Stigma is one of them. Discrimination is one of them. We now have what is called universal test and treat. But still, because it's not about treatment only, it's about having food in the stomach before you take that treatment. It's not a straight path. It's not a linear path. But we continue to do our best. Now, this now brings me to you as young people. Adolescent girls and young people are a national asset, and they are seriously under attack. young people are 3 times into 3 times affected by HIV than everybody else in the country. And you will see women are under, generally across all ages, are under attack. Now, we speak about these numbers as if they are just statistics, but these are human beings. And really, they are shocking because with all efforts that are going on, we continue to be concerned. A lot of things has been said about young people being killed, being raped, being harassed, undermined, overlooked, and young people, falling pregnant, being out of school, all of those, including harmful social norms, including lack of employment and other means, are making them very vulnerable. And as a country, we are saying we need to invest in our young people. Investing in them is investing in the future, is investing in development, is investing in growth and betterment, and is investing in the kingdom of heaven. The Deputy President said, and I'm very privileged, really, to work with people of his caliber. It's me there, in case you don't know, and I thought, let me wear my Makoti type, outfit to show the greatest respect ever. So he says, we believe that every girl should have the power to decide her future. We believe that every girl should be equipped with education, and that it is our responsibility as government that girls are healthy and that girls are safe from any form of gender-based violence. So the Deputy President, as the overarching principle of HIV and AIDS in South Africa, is committed to protect young people in our country. So now, Seventh-day Adventist Church, and I'm going to go to my figures, but I wanted to make my message loud and clear so that if I don't finish my slides, I would have said the key message, that we must rise and shine against the HIV epidemic so that the goal of ending the epidemic in 2030 is achieved. AWM, YAWM, all departmental leaders must put efforts together to empower, mentor, engage, and resource young people to shine. The church cannot be silent. The church must be active and not be passive, and must break barriers and the chains and the bureaucracies. And the church must act out of the ordinary. They must think away. We must think away from the box. We normally say, think outside the box. I'm saying, let's not think outside. Let's not think near or beside or beneath. Let's think away from the box. And this means that we need to have a radical solution. We need to untangle paradoxes and conundrums that exist that are inhibiting us from ending the epidemic. We need to move beyond condoms when we talk about prevention, and it is the church that can move our country beyond condoms. We need to move beyond contraceptives to prevent teenage pregnancies, and it is the church, because it is the church that believes that we need to abstain, as the Bible says. So it is us. If we want to see this action, we shouldn't be sitting here and saying, condoms, food, you young people, you use condoms and so on. What are we doing to make sure that condom is not the means of HIV prevention, but it is our moral uprightness that prevents us from engaging in sexual activities? We need to support young people living with HIV with dignity. I've bolded that one, not with stigma, discrimination, labeling, judgmental attitude. If we want them to come and stand here like Olga, look how beautiful she is. Of course, she got herself the scarf of my daughter because she wanted to look pink. It's not hers. It's coming back. It's a gift for her. Yeah. So an accelerated response is needed. Input is required in order to get output. Garbage in, garbage out. I see my fellow church members. I don't have time, but I'll greet you later. Church, it is upon us. Like Mordecai told Esther, if you choose to remain silent at this time, be sure that relief will come from another place. The buck does not stop with you. If you do nothing about it, there'll be someone who will do something about it. You have not come to this royal status, in order to be filing your nails, painting and repainting them. There's a mission beyond that. I have to move national new HIV infections. I'm going to just show you what is happening in South Africa. South Africa is the epicenter of the epidemic. As we speak, we've got 8 million South Africans living with HIV. So as you can see here, the orange one, I can't read the little one, the adult females 15 plus, blue adult male 15 plus. Do you see that both of them are going down? Can you see that? Which is beautiful. Over the years from 2010 to 2018, you see that. And on the other side is the number of new infections in the 50,000s there. And you see that it is going down. But the problem is it is not going down at the rate that we want it to go down. I mean, the fact that you still have 230,000 people being infected every year, it's a concern to us, a big, big concern. I have to run, as I've just mentioned, 8 million people living with HIV, and this constitutes 20% of the global epidemic. So as South Africa, you can imagine, 20% is like if you count 5 fingers, the one is out, and that is occupied by us. So 231 new infections, and the point I wanted to make, which I also made earlier, highest incidence of HIV, incidence means new infections, is among young people and is 3 times higher among females, and almost half of those who are infected every year, those 230,000, are women. And as you can see here, 835 new infections every day. As we sit here, by the time we go to sleep, there'll be 635 other people who are infected with HIV. So HIV is an emergency. It's a crisis which requires an emergency response. And sadly, this disease is going into the future. You know why? Because young people are the ones that are being infected. And I'll touch on that. That is why the church cannot be silent. The church cannot be sleepy. We need to develop some sense of agency. Otherwise, adults, by the time we wake up, we will have no young person. And this, again, just reinforces the point, because if you look at the 2 graphs, the women, the one and the other men, you will see that it's rising sharply. Like if you look 15 to 19, 20 to 24, to 35, 39, thereabout, that is where the epidemic is higher. Then it starts going down. And even on the male side, so it's both male and female, but among females, due to various factors, including biological susceptibility, tend to contract HIV more. And also, this is one study whose results came out in June, which involved 4 countries, and it was conducted in 4 sites, and I'm sure you can see, maybe I should take off the spectacles here. It included, these were the sites in South Africa, but it included Zambia and other countries. I think I forgot to put the names here, where 16 to 35-year-olds were involved. And what this study found out, again, high HIV incidence, new cases among women in South Africa. These now are some of the latest results. Of course, they were looking at other things, but all I wanted to show here is that there is consistency, across various studies, because by the time we make a certain conclusion in epidemiological studies, you've got to look at the trend and check whether different studies are finding different results. This one here shows you also the results of the Tembisa study, which was also launched, and my time is up. Goodness gracious me. This shows you the breakdown of HIV by province. The yellow one there is KZN. As you can see, a lot of people living with HIV there, and new infection, also again KZN. Look at Gauteng, the distribution and the rest of the other provinces, and also the distribution in terms of death. Shocking, shocking. This is as recent as, was presented in June. Slow decrease in new infections, slow decrease in death. And look at this graph, the one on the right. Do you see that the number of people living with HIV is increasing? And that is increasing because people are not dying. They live on treatment. And the challenge now that we are faced with is, how do we supply this treatment to everyone who needs it? Are you with me? And it's a good thing to keep people alive. We want to keep people alive, and HIV is a human rights issue, and everyone who needs treatment must get it. But the health system is overburdened. And what we should help one another in doing is to prevent new infections. We can't have 230,000 people being infected. At the moment, we've got 56% of people living with HIV being on ARVs, and we have to put 2 million people by 2020 in order to reach our 2020 targets. And we have seen studies that show that if we have dedicated effort, we can have reduced, we can have lots of people being virally suppressed. I'm going to skip some of the slides. I just want you to have a look here. You see, it's like a running tap there where we have new infections. And then, on the other hand, as we have new infections, they increase the number of people living with HIV. And then, on the other hand, you've got those that are not on treatment dying, and those that are on treatment staying. So it is, the system, like water is coming in, some water is coming out, some water is remaining, and we are trying to manage the situation. Unless we join hands, it will be very difficult to deal with this. Death not decreasing as much as we want, as you can see we wanted 0 death. I think you would recall that there was a time when we say no death, but we're still having that much. There's higher prevalence, higher incidence, persistent death. Here it shows you globally every week 7,000 adolescents, girls, and young women are infected with HIV every week. I can go on and on, but I don't have time. Why are they vulnerable? I've also touched on that. Even some of the speakers and our preacher this morning also alluded to that, and this afternoon as well. Look at this Lebogang. She was 27 when she acquired HIV from a sugar daddy, a man significantly older than her who was capable of showering her with gifts she believed she needed to fit in with her friends and feel more accepting of herself. Now a mother, Mutsumi says she wishes she had received more information at home, at school, about risky sexual behavior. We do it here at church. Here it shows you that, look, this lady is about 18 years old, and then they will acquire HIV, from an older man who is, look at this, if you go there, this man would be around 27. This is a young lady at 18. So these are the realities that women face. In terms of dealing with new infections, we looked at whether our interventions are targeted, and we found that we are not generally targeting areas that we need to target. Look at South Africa. I need to sit down. The red thing is flying in front of me. The orange part means that this is a high incidence area, meaning an area that has many new infections that is not being attended to. So our interventions have been amiss. Look at Kenya. In Kenya, look at, the youth, they are concentrating on low, moderate locations. Do you see what we are doing? We have smaller resources and we are not directing them. We need to improve. So commitment is needed, political will, sense of agency. We cannot be complacent. Resources are needed. Otherwise, we will have our young people go. Now, we have this, the eThekwini Declaration of Epidemic Control, which we handed to the Deputy President at the AIDS conference in order to revolutionize the HIV response. This is an empowering mandate. It is the will of the people. We want to have innovations to radically address HIV. That's what it speaks about, and we will be implementing this, and I hope I'll be working with the church in doing this. I'm going to skip that one, the 1990, you already know that I'm skipping. Now, I want to maybe graphically, if you look at this, can you see the arrow from here? I can't see it clearly. It shows you, in terms of new infection, we are supposed to be there, and we are not. And it shows you, in terms of AIDS-related death, we are supposed to be here, and we are not. It shows you, again, in terms of new infection, we are supposed to be there. And then it shows you, in terms of ARV treatment, we are supposed to be there. You see that dot, and we are not. So we have not reached where we are supposed to be. We need to keep moving. I mean, these now are the regions. And our region, the Eastern and Southern Africa, is hardest hit. And we are lagging far behind. Here also shows you countries that have achieved greater than 90 and countries that have not on the first, second, and third 90s. I'm sure this information can be made available. In South Africa, as we speak, this is where we are. In terms of the first 90, we have achieved it. We have 90% of people living with HIV being treated. We have 71% who are on treatment, living with HIV, and then we have 88%. We need to meet 90 by 2020. I haven't, spoken about what should we do now. More aggressive HIV prevention efforts needed. We need innovations and technologies to reduce this. We need to improve ART coverage for those living with HIV. We need to ensure that they are within a continuum of care. We detect the virus early, link them to care, initiate them on treatment, retain them in treatment so that they are virally suppressed. We need to make sure that we support adolescents to adhere to treatment. You see, they need money for transport. They need money to go to the clinic. They need money, they need kind stuff in the clinics. They need all those forms of support are needed in order for them to stay in treatment. And we are saying our interventions must be inclusive. They must be championed by young people. So at the recent conference that we had, we gave these twins. One of them is HIV positive, and the other one is not. And they are actively involved in HIV prevention and HIV treatment and outreach activities, and they are lovable. Yeah? So we are saying, use fellow young people very actively because this works. We also have recognized women who have been involved in activities to reduce new infection, like done by young women for young women. This is a concoction of prevention packages you can have, but you will see in there there's condoms and all sorts of things, which is where now I am saying the church can play a better part. This gives you a step-by-step approach on how to accelerate HIV prevention. And I'll make sure you get this information, and I'll still be talking for many years to come about HIV. We have various pillars of HIV prevention. I don't have time. And there are people who believe that they can substitute prevention with treatment. In other words, you get HIV positive, and then you get treatment, and then you don't transmit the virus, therefore you are okay. Treatment is treatment, prevention is prevention. We want young people who are negative to stay negative, and we want young people who are HIV positive to be on treatment so that their lives are saved. There are programs that are successful, which we can learn from. She Conquers Dreams. She Conquers, there's a young woman who was with Olga there. She's in this program dedicated towards ensuring that we prevent the cycle of HIV transmission among young people. the community, and in this case, the church, can play a very central role in making sure that we have a successful and an impactful response. We have seen the results of the SAU study. Anyone from SAU here? Anyone? Where we surpassed the 90-90-90. The civil society, come closer. This, civil society, people living with HIV and so on, are saying we are available. Solutions must be local. Local challenges are local. The response to HIV must be localized. So I'll be engaging a lot with communities. And by the way, you know I'm a deputy vice chancellor in the university, right? This is not my job. This is not what I'm paid to do. This I do because God has called me to do it. That one I do for money, okay? No, and for developing students. There's leadership commitment. Look, the deputy president is saying more work is needed to end new infections. And he goes on and on about what we need to do. The Minister of Health, who was also at the conference, is saying we need to rapidly attack this enemy. And we need, I cannot sit down without talking about this one. Address inequalities, address unspeakable poverty, appalling disparities, gender inequalities, mitigate vulnerabilities, and take action against those who discriminate and stigmatize. It's going to be a legal issue, a very, very serious. We have a human rights plan. By the way, there are people who think that when you say gender equality, you don't respect. I'm still a Mamfundisi. I hear myself. My husband is the head of the family, yes, and I am the mastermind. You know, but the whole issue of gender equality, what it means is that we are all made in the image of God, and we are human, and we need to be treated as such. No human being is more equal than the other. No animal is more equal than another. So it is upon us. Oh, the last slide. It is in our hands. We have the data. We know the gaps. We know what to scale. We know we need to increase the reach. We know we need to increase coverage. We know we need to close the gap between testing and treatment. We need to address the disparities. So come on, let's fight. Don't wait to have HIV before you fight. Fight for those who need help. Fight for the helpless. It is our responsibility. That's what we are called to do. I'll stop there.
Amen.
Lord, the light of your love is shining in the midst of the darkness shining. Jesus, light of the world, shine